Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Shatterpoint tournament recap for the Rogue 4 event held in Swindon on the 7th of February 2026. I'm your host Shatterpoint Steve, and join me as I look back over my games and you can hear how I got on. So to start off, let's have a look at the breakdown of the primary units that were taken. So obviously we can see that both Cassian and Boss were the top picks, taken by 6 people each respectively. Out of the 13 players, only 2 players did not bring either Boss or Cassian, and only 1 player brought Boss and Cassian. Then Obi-Wan was the, along with the Mando and Leia, were the next top picks. And then there was a smattering of other units that came through. You'll notice here that there are primaries here that were taken by single players that were then not used in games. This is because there was a buy round, because there were only 13 players, and in the buy round you could choose whether you were going to use which primaries you were going to use to fulfill your destiny in the format. And so these were used in the buy round, which is why they don't feature in the breakdown. But yes, we can see that Boss and Cassian were the 2 most brought primaries, and also the 2 most played primaries. So no surprises there if you've been following along with the Stat Center and the Meta Watch. So here was my list for the event, and as I said, there was only 1 player that brought both Cassian and Boss, and yes, it was me. So my first kind of part of the 2x2 was Leia, Bodhi Rook and Bazin Chirrut, and then Cassian, Lobot and the Rebel Commandos. Now I chose these because I've been playing a huge amount of Boss Anchor list through the previous year, so 2025, played a huge amount of Boss Anchor, and whilst I enjoy Boss, I also wanted to make sure that I did get some games in with Cassian. I did enjoy Cassian Kanan for a long time, but I've also enjoyed Princess Leia. And yeah, just strong in the meta at the moment as well. And bizarrely, I barely put Bodhi and Baze and Chirrut on the table at all. And also Lobot, I really like Lobot as a unit. Brings a lot to the table, I think, and particularly on defensive expertise, being able to chuck out a disarm is also really nice. And obviously the Rebel Commandos are great at dealing with some of the missions, being able to deploy further forward. And then as the second part of the 2x2, I brought Boss Obi, the list that I personally think is the strongest build that you can bring with Boss into generally most matchups. I do think there are other primaries that work well, but I personally think that this Boss Obi build is the strongest one in my experience. And I brought First Contact as the mission. This was for a couple of reasons. One, I really enjoy the mission a lot. But also I know that some people don't enjoy the mission, and a bit of psychological warfare to start the game off, because it puts a lot of pressure on that first roll of the game. So yes, it's all in good jest. But yeah, I really do enjoy First Contact, and yeah, so I was looking to have some fun, and hopefully do quite well, bringing some of the strongest lists in the meta right now. So round number 1, I was drawn versus clubmate Ollie. So unfortunately, friendly fire was turned on, which meant that during the event in round 1, you could be paired against people who are in your same community. And so yes, so unfortunately, Ollie and I ended up playing versus each other. Now Ollie and I have probably played each other, I think it's about 5 times in the last month or so. We put in quite a few games against each other, and I'd basically been running my Cassian list into Ollie's Cassian lists. So when I saw that I'd drawn Ollie, I immediately knew that I had to put the boss list on the table. So I ran my boss Obi list, and also I was fully prepared if I won the roll-off to play First Contact, because I know that Ollie didn't have many games on First Contact. So completely out of respect to Ollie, because I think he is a brilliant player. He's quite new to the Shatterpoint scene, but he's not new to wargaming. He's got a very good mind in terms of thinking about the plays and the interactions, and his Cassian lists are super strong, and he really understands the game and how to interact well on the board. So yeah, and I thought he was actually going to run his Cassian and Kanan list into me. So that would be Cassian, Callus, and Baze and Chirrut, and then Kanan, Ezra, and the Rebel Commandos. I thought that's what he was going to run into me because I know that was his strongest list and his preferred list, I think. But instead, he actually ran Leia, Bodhi, and Han and Chewie with Jin, K2, and Lando and R2 into me. And I lost the roll off. Only just lost the roll off. So we did go on to Never Tell Me the Odds. Now, during the game, it was a really close struggle one. It was quite a tight struggle one. I do have some images, so I will just pull those up now. So here we have part of the kind of the thick of it action, and on the left hand side you can see a very hotly contested point there, and that was part of the struggle 1, obviously, on the death donut, and here we can see a little image from struggle 2. But that point there on the far left hand side was really contested throughout the whole of struggle 1. And Ollie basically had to commit a huge number of his pieces to that side of the table. And struggle 1 ended with by Princess Leia having her revenge trigger into Sev and Scorch, and at that point in time we looked at Leia's tree and we discussed it, and we said, well, Leia's going to have to get 5 steps down her tree to wound Sev and Scorch, and if she doesn't do that, I think that I would have been in a very strong position to probably take the first struggle in a very tight struggle. I wouldn't have got it on that activation, but I could have got it on the next one, I think, with some luck there. But unfortunately, if I pull up the next image, as Princess Leia rolled 5 successes, all I needed was 1 block, and unfortunately, Sev and Scorch rolled 5 misses there. As you can see, it's in my Blessed with Bad Luck Blood Bowl dice tray there. So quite fitting that we got the 5 misses. But as the game went on, I was able to take struggle 2, and we spoke about it after the game, and Ollie, I think, was quite correct. There was a slight misplacement of K2SO during struggle 2 that ultimately ended up costing him quite dearly. K2 just out of range of lots of units, just out of range of a point. So yeah, it was a little unfortunate that K2 couldn't really have much impact in the game. He was also the last card in the order deck for the first go through there. So yeah, didn't really get the opportunity to influence the game too much. And Obi's hunker abilities also came in very clutch at times in order to kind of shut down K2's ability to lock down points. But really, the winning play for me ended up being my order deck. Left me with Obi-Wan and the Shatterpoint as my last 2 cards with 2 Force. And Ollie had in reserve his Lando and R2-D2. And as you can see, the back point there was active in Struggle 3, and Lando and R2 being in reserve meant that, of course, I can't shoot at them, but also Ollie didn't want to move them off that point because they were holding that objective for him throughout Struggle 3 and kind of keeping him in the game. But I realised, as I saw my order deck changing, that Obi and the Shatterpoint were going to be perfect cards because it didn't matter which one I could use both of them to either Shatterpoint Obi-Wan, and on Never Tell Me the Odds, it was also primary units gaining an additional momentum, and we'd hit mission critical, and I knew that a double Obi turn, being able to move in, kill Lando and R2 the first time, they were exposed as well, so 10 dice with hello there, kill them the first time, hopefully reapply the expose. Then they would have their activation. They would need to tackle Obi-Wan, and then I can just do, slice through them again with them being exposed again. And yeah, the plan worked out beautifully. The deck stacked in the nice way. I scored 4 points, and then unfortunately Ollie wasn't able to get the priority objective the next turn. And so, it was a win there for me. But yeah, a brilliant game. Ollie, as always, not just a club mate, but a really, really lovely opponent. Really good debrief after the game. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the game. And yeah, watch out for Ollie, because I think he will achieve great things very, very soon. On to round 2 then, and I was playing versus Robin. So Robin and I have played each other a couple of times. We've had some absolutely cracking games already. I think the last time we played each other, we went to time. It went right down to the wire. So I knew that this one was going to be a tough match. And Robin, I think, had the bye in the first round, so had technically used Kit Fisto from the list, and I suspected he was going to run Boss and Hunter into my list. So he brought Boss, Fixer 7 Scorch, Obi-Wan, Rex and the 212, so exactly the same as mine. Kit Fisto, Shakti and the 501st, and then Hunter, Wolf and the Wolf Pack with Sabotage Showdown as the mission. I suspected he would run Boss and Hunter into me, because I thought he probably wouldn't want the exact Boss mirror, like a literally exact Boss mirror, if I chose to go Boss, but also if I chose to go Cassian, Boss and Hunter is strong into Cassian. So yeah, so this game, again, it was an absolute cracker, really. I think the game started in a really interesting way, because Robin's first activation with Boss was almost a dud. He pulled the Wolf Pack first, decided to reserve the Wolf Pack, then went with Boss, and I think it was partly due to the terrain on the board. I'll bring up an image in a minute. That Boss just didn't have a great first activation, and then when I pulled I think I got Shatterpoint first, and I got so obviously I used Baze and Turret as I used my Cassian list and Leia list in this one. I was able to kind of take the point back that he'd scored with Boss, and then we kind of got into a bit of a scrum. So let me show you the image of from kind of struggle 1. So here we are. This is the my left-hand side of the board, and as you can see, there is a big old scrum going on there with all of Delta and Baze and Turret over there as well. So yeah, this was a hotly fought struggle 1. It just slipped away from me at the end, but a good Cassian bomb and a lot of damage on the table did set me up for struggle 2. So in struggle 2, this side of the board remained quite hotly contested again. I'll show you an image here. So here we are in struggle 2, but it did play into my favour because I was able to activate Baze and Turret and get them really involved in the game. But this game was quite brutal at times, as can be in Shatterpoint. So lots of wounds flying around, and over on the other side of the board as well, we did have a bit of drama with Cassian and the Rebel Commandos and the Wolf Pack. So yes, over here, lots of drama here with the Rebel Commandos kind of going back and forth around the points, the Wolf Pack going back and forth around points, Cassian dropping back to support Lobot in locking down the back objective. And yeah, I managed to pick up struggle 2, and then struggle 3 we had time rapidly being called upon us, and it actually came down to the final activation. And if I go back to the image I had up a moment ago, I can show you the area of the board where the game was won and lost. And It was in this section here, so where Churret is right now, I ended up getting Leia into that position there, needing Leia to shove Boss, who was a bit further round to the left. Fixer was back a tiny bit more. Boss was round to the left, and basically it boiled down to, could I get 2 shoves through on Leia's tree in melee, and could Boss be shoved far enough back so that he was not contesting the point? And it came down to about a centimetre, maybe less than a centimetre out for Boss, and I was able to actually win the struggle. So whilst time had been called at that point in time, I did take the struggle by scoring the required number of points and getting the momentum. But an absolutely cracker of a game again versus Robin. Yeah, really enjoyed all our games. And again, if you end up playing versus Robin, really great guy, and definitely someone who is not to be taken lightly. And I know that every time I sit down to play versus him, it's going to be a really tough one. So thank you very much for the game. So, going into round 3, I was 2-0, and I'd played both of my lists. So I've fulfilled the destiny of the event, and I am also 2-0, so looking pretty good. I think I was ranked 2nd at that point in time, and I came up against the number 1 at the time, who was Ollie. Now, Ollie, I will say this, obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I've mentioned it before on my Stat Center shows. Ollie was the only player who did not submit an SPT code. So little tisk from me for that one. Did submit a list here, obviously, but yes, unfortunately it's not an SPT list. So when we do look at some of the data at the end, we must take into consideration that Ollie's additional information is not available. So he brought Kiadi, Shakti and the Padawans, Obi, Rex and the Clone Commandos, Anakin, Padawan Ahsoka and the 501st, and then Boss, Fixer, and Sev and Scorch, and shifting priorities was the mission. And for the 3rd time in a row, I lost the roll-off, so we didn't get to see First Contact, which was a shame, because I really wanted to bring First Contact into this matchup here. I suspected that Ollie was going to bring Boss Obi into me. And I thought for a while about what I was going to run, and I decided that I was going to put the Cassian Leia list into Ollie's list here. I think that Cassian and Leia, obviously Boss is tough, but I think that Cassian and Leia have a good work rate versus Boss and Obi. Obviously the hunkers on Obi are the kicker in that matchup, but yeah, I felt that I could do quite well. We were on shifting priorities. I didn't get many images from this one, but we'll talk through what happened. So Boss gets reserved turn 1, and then it was an Obi-Wan pull. Obi-Wan moves up the board and just takes one of the midline points. To hold 2. I then send I think I get Leia immediately. I then send Baze up the board with Leia to take a side point, and possibly this might have been a mistake. In hindsight, I could have left Baze maybe it was on an elevation point. I could have left Baze on the ground, maybe out the way, forced Boss to come round the corner. Boss came in, killed Baze and Churret immediately on the next activation. So Baze and Churret are on 1 wound already before they activate. I then pull the Shatterpoint, which is of course useful for Baze and Churret again. Baze and Churret then take that point, and I think I score 3 on that one because I get the midpoint, so I get 2 on the midline and my back one on shifting there. And then the game kind of starts to spiral. So I do have an image here. So let me pull this up. So this is in Struggle 1, and it's clearly not looking very healthy for me at all. We've got Leia wounded with a disarm strain and pin. We've got Bodhi. We've got Bodhi wounded as well. I realise he shouldn't have the expose because he's immune. But it didn't matter. He was wounded anyway. He wasn't exposed prior to that coming in. So yes, I remembered a bit later, and he lost it later anyway. But the scary one is Baze and Churrit being dead on their actual activation. So they were activated off the Shatterpoint. They died. They activated off the Shatterpoint, got wounded again, and then they will leave the table within the first deck. So that was the real kick in the teeth there. The Rebel Commandos ended up dying as well very very early on. So yeah, it's really not looking good at all. And obviously, we can look back at the game, and there are always going to be two schools of thought in kind of wargaming situations, and unfortunately a lot of people turn and blame the dice. Now, I'm not someone that will blame dice for poor decision making. I've stayed away from this in other games that I've been involved in. Obviously my 5 misses on 7 Scorch versus my clubmate, absolute disaster, nearly lost me the game, what a shocker, etc. But in reality, you have to look at the plays that you're making, and what could you have done differently. And I think that I made sending Baze up the board was potentially a little error there. I don't think it was necessarily as bad as it first appeared, and I think I did maybe get quite hard punished for it. But I think that I did misuse one of Cassian's revenge triggers, and I think I should have moved the Rebel Commandos, which I looked at, rather than moving Leia as I did. And I think that in hindsight, if I'd moved the Commandos, I might have been able to take Struggle 1 still, even with the absolute disaster. I would have lost Baze and Churrit, but I would have taken Struggle 1, I think, when I reflected on the game. So I think the Rebel Commandos moving should have been the play, because it would have then meant that their activation would have been better. I would have scored a midpoint, and then their activation would have been better, rather than moving Leia trying to kind of defend the right hand side point there. So yes, not looking too good. I've got an image of the board around this time as well. So let me pull that up. So here we can see the midpoint being hotly contested by Lobot, Bodhi, the Rebel Commandos, and Churrit there as well. But yeah, it was unfortunately a bit of one-way traffic. The rocky outcrop you can see there was quite a hindrance towards the end of the game. I did manage to rack up some wounds by the end, but yeah, I couldn't take the second struggle. Obi's hunkers were very strong, and there was a brilliant 4-pointer from Ollie, and took the game 2-0. So yeah, on reflection, as I say, I think I made some poor plays, micro errors, which will ultimately end up costing you. We could have, you could say, should I have run Obi Boss into him as well? Possibly. I could have tried the mirror, tried the kind of crapshoot on dice rolls with Boss. But I think on first contact as well, I think I would have possibly stood a slightly better chance. So in this matchup, so yeah, not too worried about losing to a strong list. And yeah, just the game went the way the game went, but plenty to take away from it. And with 2-1, still lots to play for going into round 4. So round 4 saw me playing versus Chris, and Chris had bought a side-by-side of Boss Fixer 7 Scorch, Ahsoka number 1, the Jedi No More, Rex and the Wolf Pack, and then Mando, Bo-Katan, Clan Kryze, Armourer, Paz, and the Covert Mandos on Sabotage Showdown. And for the fourth game in a row, I lost the roll-off. And again, I was quite sad to lose the roll-off on this one, because I would have loved to have played First Contact this weekend. But sadly, it wasn't to be. So we were on Sabotage Showdown again. As I suspected, Chris ran Boss Ahsoka into me. And I deliberated again about this one. And I think I made the wrong call on running my Boss and Obi. I think I should have run Cassian Leia into this list. So that was my first kind of mistake in this game. So yeah, I ran the Boss and Obi. Partly it was because I had looked at the standings and realised that there was only one player on 3 and 0, who was my opponent from round 3, and if he lost round 4, then there would have been a lot of people on, and I win, there would be a lot of people on 3 and 1, and strength of schedule and then the wounds would have ramped up in terms of value, and I thought, right, if I'm going to need to do quite a lot of wounds to improve my result, I might want to bring Boss. But as I say, I think I probably should have stuck to my game plan coming in, which was actually to play Cassian 3 times, if I could, because the Cassian Leia, because I enjoyed that. So yeah, I think I maybe let myself down a bit on the decision making, and also I think on First Contact I would have been absolutely fine with the Cassian list. So yeah, maybe I allowed myself to kind of get into my own head on that decision there. Unfortunately for this game, I took no photos. I blame it on being game 4. For those of you who watch Phil from Tabletop Impulse, if you haven't followed him, please do. He was at the event as well and will be doing his own breakdown, which I'm excited to see. Yeah, I completely forgot to take photos in round 4. Which I do apologise to Chris for, because his minis were well painted, and he actually won the Best Painted award at the event. So yes, no photos for this one, so we'll just skip through it quite quickly. Struggle 1, a bit like round 3. It was close for a little bit, and then the spiral kind of started. Ahsoka did a lot of clapbacks into me there, and did well. My Boss failed to get a wound, which was really unfortunate. If I got a wound with Boss, I think again the struggle probably it's a bit more 50-50 if Boss gets the wound when he did. I didn't manage my force particularly well in this game, and that's partly because Boss failed to get the wound. So I didn't get the refresh on the force. So yeah, again, little misplay maybe with my force, and then into a kind of dud activation with Boss there saw me lose struggle 1. Then struggle 2 was quite close again. Kind of kept my foot in the door the whole time. Thought I was probably doing all right, but the spiral continued. Ahsoka jumping around. She's got big movement. Lots of movement from Delta on his side as well, and yeah, it just slipped away there. So unfortunately, it was a 2-2 in the end. So let's just have a quick look at the games as a whole. So here we can see, so round 1, a 2-1 win for me, going 7 wounds to 5 with my Boss Obi list on Never Tell Me the Odds. Then another quite high wounding game, 2-1 to me here, with 7-5, so the reverse there, but with my Cassian Leia. Then, as we can see, round 3, 2-0, 6 wounds to 2, so pretty big stomping there. And then round 4, again a 2-0 with 6-4 on the wounds. So yes, yeah, as I say, a little bit unfortunate that I didn't win any of the roll-offs. It would have been great fun to play on First Contact. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable weekend regardless. Let's have a quick look at the results. So as we can see here, actually finished 11th out of 13, which from a results point of view is not particularly strong. But what I will kind of address is that between 11th and 4th place, everyone went 2 and 2, and it came down to victory points. So the struggles won. So I was the only person in the event to go 2 and 2 who got bulldozed 2-0 in both of the losses, which was a shame because if I managed to get myself up into if I lose 2-1 in both of those games, I would have overtaken clubmate Tom with my strength of schedule. So yeah, could have been fourth there if I'd been able to get those. So yeah, it kind of shows the caliber of the event. I will just say a really quick well done to Phil for coming third, but as I say, you'll be able to watch his full recap video if you haven't done so already. And then my 2 losses came to Chris, who finished second, and Ollie, who went 4-0 and finished first. So obviously I'll be doing a full kind of look back over this event as well as part of the stats center. So do check that out when it drops tomorrow. And finally, we will just have a little look at a little bit more of the data from the event. So just to finish off, let's have a quick look at the missions. So out of all the games that occurred, we saw Sabotage Showdown get played 7 times, Never Tell Me the Odds 6, then First Contact came in 4 times. There were a few people that ran First Contact at the event who did manage to win roll-offs, all played versus each other, so they had to go with First Contact. And then Shifting Priorities was the lowest played on 3. Interestingly, out of the games, 60% of the games were won by the player who went second, which is interesting, with 40% coming to the first player. So yeah, slight favouring the player who finished second. And then, as I said, with 13 players attending but only 12 SPT codes submitted, this data isn't quite right. But as we can see, Baze and Turret, Cassian, the Rebel Commandos, Boss should have 6, Fixer should have 6, and 7 Scorch should have 6 as well, obviously, because they were in Ollie's list. So really clear that the top end of the meta that we've seen was represented at this event. And then the missions that were brought, so Sabotage Showdown was brought by 4 players, and then First Contact, Never Tell Me the Odds, and then Shifting, of course, because Ollie had Shifting in his list as well, were actually taken 3 times each. So a really nice spread of missions to choose from. But yes, unfortunately with the data just slightly out there. But yeah. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. So thank you very much for watching. All that remains for me to say is do not forget to smash the like, subscribe button, etc, etc, etc. Leave a comment, and yeah, join me for the Shatterpoint Stats Center tomorrow when the video drops. Thank you all for watching, and bye for now.